You're watching Daybreak here on the Arise News channel, coming to you from our studios in Nigeria's capital of Abuja. Well, let's tell you about some of the stories we're following this time. The Senate has begun deliberating on the new bill sponsored by Senator Ned Nwoko that would require social media companies and organizations handling Nigeria's personal data to establish physical offices in the country. The bill, titled A Bill to Amend the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023 to mandate social media platforms to establish physical offices in Nigeria and for related matters, passed its first reading November 21. While the bill aims to address several challenges posed by the absence of local offices for these companies. It empowers the Data Protection Commission to enforce compliance, ensuring that social media platforms, data controllers, and processors operating in the country are accountable to local laws. Failure to comply could lead to these companies being banned from operating in the country. Well, joining me now to speak further on this bill and social media organizations establishing offices here in the country is Gloria Okolugbo, Communication Coordinator for Senator Ned Nwoko. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Adesuwa. It's great to be here.
Great. Thank you for coming so bright and early. This is an important conversation. So let's begin with what is necessitating this bill at this time now. What inspired Senator Ned Nwoko to, come up with this?
This bill is a major attempt by the senator to align Nigerian economy with the global digital economy. It's very important to have these multinational corporations to have their offices here so they can interface with Nigerians. They're practically faceless to us. So if we have major complaints from utilization of these channels, there are no direct, there's no single direct office where you can actually go seek redress. So basically, that's what this is all about. Nigeria is, I think, the hugest user of these platforms because of our population in Africa. So it's very critical to our digital economy that we align ourselves with best practices from around the world. That's what's done everywhere. Why not Nigeria, basically, you know?
But there are critics who argue that this bill could lead to increased government control of free speech and social media. We saw that happen in Nigeria in 2021 when the Nigerian government banned Twitter. And this was actually one of the conditions to get the social media back operating in the country. But here we are again. So how do you convince critics that this is just about Nigerians' data protection, economy, and business, and not controlling what the government wants the people to know?
Well, the bill is very clear. It's just some amendments to the data protection laws. So it's very clear. The distinguished senator has been interfacing with young people around the country. We've had several platforms where he interfaced with young people. And even when people said there was one of the merits of the bill to control conversation, the distinguished senator was very clear that this is not what this is about, because he believes completely in free speech. This is completely about the merits that have to do with job creation, access to the organization, so that if there are cases of fake news, which is very rampant, you can seek redress. You don't stop people from saying what they want to say, but people ought to know that there are consequences if you say something that is completely not true, you know, because we've had situations that were very there where somebody's personal life, somebody who has, groomed herself, I don't want to make specific instances, but times when people's character, grave character assassination and things like that, ordinary Nigerians, not necessarily people in leadership, and they have if they have to litigate, they will have to get a lawyer from here who will get a lawyer in the US. And then, before you start talking about the cost of all that, you can't seek justice, and that's not right. So the idea behind it is, let's have a face to the organizations. Number one, you're going to create a lot of jobs. You're going to have the opportunity to seek redress and say to them, look, this thing is not right, and show your evidence, and these things can be brought down. Even simple things like you're not being able, now Facebook is monetized, for instance, and then some people don't have access to advertising, because they say they're not sure you are who you are. There's so many personal cases that I know about. So that way you can proceed to the office, identify yourself, and then your account can be monetized and you can actually gain the benefits of the digital economy. That means a lot because a lot of people have had to engage on the platforms, grow their followership and all that. But presently, they are not assessing the gains that they're supposed to assess from these platforms.
I mean, you make a fantastic point, but in practical terms, how does a physical office in Nigeria ensure all of this that you have highlighted? Some would say it's another bureaucratic red tape the country is about to create, having a physical presence for the company.
Bureaucracy
is there evidence that having a physical store in Nigeria will ensure all of this?
In the UK, you have a physical store, like you say, but a physical office. It's not, there's nothing bureaucratic about offices of multinational corporations. It's not like civil service or anything like that. We have DSTV. It works. If you have a complaint, you go there. You have the customer service desk. In 2 minutes, you can get out of there. You lay your complaint. The things that you need to physically handle, not your technicians. If you don't need to go there, you don't need to go there. But when you need to go there, where do you go? That's the issue. Where do you go when you really need to interface? I was trying to tell you about personal experience. Yes. I have verified my Facebook page. I have my blue tick. And then I have been well identified. And then I was blocked because they're not sure it's me because there's a cloned account somewhere. How do you keep writing? You can't resolve that. You have to probably interface with them one-on-one. And then when they put a face to you and your identity, don't forget, we now have enough database to identify us. We have NIN. We have so much data. Data is today's gold. So there's enough data for us to sort out everything we need to sort out. But we must interface with them. They can't be faceless in Nigeria when they have a face in other countries. It's not right.
Okay, great. So the bill also proposes a ban for the companies from operating in Nigeria if they don't establish physical offices within 30 days. Some argue that's an aggressive timeline. Are we expecting global companies to set up offices that quickly in 30 days? And should they not set up those offices, what happens?
The distinguished senator is an international legal luminary. He practices law in the UK. And I believe that distinguished Senator Ned had all of this thought out before he proposed this bill. There's a lot of taking us for granted. We have a huge population and we have caused the globe to make a lot of money from our interface on the, in the digital space. So why do we have to wait this long to protect our data? There's a lot of data abuse. There's a lot of abuse of access to data in Nigeria. So
don't we have enough laws to take care of that already?
Well, it's the law he's amending. It's the existing law he's amending to put teeth to it. Having the law is one thing. The law being justiciable is another. So some of these clauses that he is amending are the things that will ensure that this law becomes justiciable. That means you can enforce it.
Okay, so 30 days. Should these companies now decide to leave because they find this not practicable for them? Where does that leave Nigerians? I mean, it's just a question.
They're not going to leave.
It's just a question. So should they leave? What then happens to Nigerians? Does this not impact them in a way that it leaves them out from communication, businesses, and information passage?
This is why they're not going to leave. It's what they're meant to have done. When you know that this is what you're meant to have done, and then you know what you're going to get.
When you say they're meant to have done, they don't set up physical offices all over the world. So
you can check your Google, basic Google. I mean, it was even the distinguished senator that made us realize that. Just go to Google and check where their offices, and you'll see their offices in countries where they operate.
But they're not all over the world.
In major economies. So why not Nigeria?
Great.
Yeah.
So that's the point. Not that they are meant to do so. But again, I ask you, you're so sure that they won't leave?
No. Why will they? That's why we have a huge digital economy here. And we have the bargaining chip. The ace is with us. And so it's not a big deal. It's a requirement. And when we put it in place, they'll comply. They'll comply. You get the much compliance you enforce. That's what happens.
Are there any incentives Nigeria will be offering such companies for them to set up these physical stores and attract them to continue to do business? Are there any incentives in this law, in this bill?
We have enough incentive in the economy that we control. They're not going to be here if they're not making the money they're making.
The population,
yes. So we have enough incentive for them to stay. We have enough incentive for them to negotiate and be with us. So I don't think there's a problem with that.
Great. What's the reassurance for Nigerians that this is not going to go the way we have seen in other countries where, for instance, in Germany, they had a physical store and the government wanted something pulled down, and they just went and arrested the personnel of the social media company.
Nigeria doesn't have that kind of history. In fact, we do have a lot of respect for multinational corporations and multilateral agencies. So we don't have that kind of history. So I don't think we're going to begin with the social media organizations.
And just to clarify, before I let you go, is this just for the big companies, or is this for everybody? And I ask that question because there are those who are asking, setting up physical offices and structure is an expensive venture. So for the small data processing companies that look at Nigeria as a lucrative market they want to come into, but then they see this bill and say, can we really afford to set up structures in Nigeria? Let's stay away. What happens to such companies? Are you not creating a problem in trying to solve another?
What kind of small data processing companies that need your database, need your population, and have access to your data without some level of control? That's not even safe for us. We shouldn't even talk about that, should we?
But with this, how does this protect data? That we have to rely on these companies to do this. How about our own government agencies? How well have they been able to handle or keep our data safe?
Well, that's another topic altogether. We have the law in place that protects our data, and there are also checks and balances. The House, the National Assembly, has committees that do their oversight functions, and I think this is also part of why they notice that there are gaps, there are lacunas in the laws, and they're making sure that these lacunas are taken care of. And then when you have those gaps handled, then the agencies can do what they need to do. So that's a different conversation, I believe. Well,
it's a good thing that you said the senator has been speaking to young people, and he says this is what you young people have been telling him. We know the bill has passed first reading, but what sort of reception is it getting on the floor of the National Assembly? Do you think it's going to scale through?
I believe
Is he optimistic?
Very optimistic. I believe it's going to scale through. And it's also been well received we've had several fora where we've had, I'm sure they showed a number of them on Arise, and maybe we could do some further airing, where he had discussions with very young people across board who are social media users, the active social media users. And the feedback is lovely. It's wonderful. The clarity is there. You know, the goals of the bill are clear, and this is part of that advocacy to make people realize that this is what the bill is all about, and would like support for the bill, and it will help people to engage better on the social media platforms so that there's no misconception along the line.
Fantastic. I mean, it does make sense that if they do set up shops, more Nigerians will be employed to the business. Thank you so much, Gloria Okolugbo, for being here this morning.
It's my pleasure.
We do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.